But there are some things I think people really need to know the facts about some of the things that we've been dealing with.
Okay.
It's like that we're a drug addict right now, and we have said that we're addicted to free trash, but our supply is coming to an end. So look, I'm not trying to scare people. I think it's just important for us to be able to give what the accurate information is. We all want to make the best decision for Rutherford County and for our municipalities.
Nice. Well, cool. Again, thanks for coming in and joining us. Really appreciate it. I know we did was about a week and a half. We did the other live broadcast with Mike over from the GM from Republic Services, and then I loved it that you were open to coming on and just doing the alternative side. So to doing that and
yeah.
You're like yes, absolutely,
absolutely, yeah,
all right.
yeah.
You already got comments coming in. Looking forward to this. Are you enjoying this right now? Yes, we are. Okay.
I think it's important. So look, I've got no financial benefit off of talking about the landfill. I've got some opinions, and I think educated opinions on things. But I think it's important that one, we hear both sides. I think it's important that we're respectful. I mean, there's things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, and but anyway, I think it's also very important to try to educate the people who are in your city and even the county to understand, well, hey, look, here's an alternative thing that maybe you need to understand. And so I don't know Mike Classen very well. I think I would enjoy probably sitting down having a beer with Mike. Mike seems like a super nice guy.
I will say he's very nice. He was very nice. Yeah.
I joke, say he'd be a heck of a politician because right. But I think there's some. Again, you don't want to get into a he said, she said, but there are some things I think people really need to know the facts about some of the things that we've been dealing with.
Okay. And actually, on that note, perfect. Thank you for saying that. I just want to put out there, as personally as John I. Carey and as Murfreesboro.com, we're just remaining neutral on that. It's my disclaimer for everybody watching.
Yeah.
We're just simply providing the forum because Mike was on here, and fair to have Shane on here as well. And, and that's it. So that's all I wanted to say on that. So I'm just going to be the moderator here with questions, and we can talk.
You're Switzerland?
Yeah, I am Switzerland. Yes. Yes, we are. I'm going to use that one from now on. Yes. That's perfect. But dang it, questions already coming in. Can you see them over there on your side?
That's what I'm trying to look at here.
On the Rutherford County page?
I've not been. I see them now.
Okay,
all
right, cool.
They're coming in.
I got you. Very cool. So where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, I think it's good to give a history.
Okay.
And there's right now what's happening and what you're seeing in the county, or really throughout this process. And I think it would be good to preface this by saying we have good people in leadership at not only the county but the city.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I think we have a really good city team and city. You've been at our town halls that we've been doing the last couple of weeks. I think we have good people at the county. I may not always agree with. No one's going to agree with what an elected official has to say all the time, but I do think it's extremely important to be transparent. It's important to make sure that we are sharing information that we have, and so clearly, I watched your thing that y'all had, and the other part I'll tell you is I love this format. I've been doing this personally I'll do it on a Wednesday night or
Wednesday's 8, right? On
yours?
I love it. I watch them.
And you get to go straight to your citizens, and citizens get to ask you questions, and by it's not my people. I mean, you've been on there, and I mean there are definitely some not Shane McFarland fans who are on your thread, but it's important to answer those questions, and I think that's, if anything, I can say over really the last 8 years or so, you've seen that this type of form has been really predominant in getting your message out and being able to interact with people.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I mean, I think you look at the last election, and I mean, the long form podcasts and short form podcasts. I mean, that's been significant, and it's been significant with a younger demographic too, because they're not going to sit down and watch City TV 3 to get their information.
I gotcha,
But so I think it's good to give a history.
Okay.
And I think it's this term of good neighbor has been thrown around a lot, and I have a different perspective on that.
Okay.
In 2021 is when a lot of this really started. Now, this has been going on for years.
I got you.
I don't think anyone in this community will say, "Hey, the landfill's been rosy." There's no issues.
Yeah.
And so I think this thing saying that we've been great corporate partners for 5 or 7 years. I mean, it's complete bullshit. It's complete crap. Is what I should
I love it.
Should say.
Yes.
Look, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but to say that we've had no issues and everything's good community partners. Look, and I'll say this: I appreciate any corporate partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
But what does being a good community partner and providing money for ball fields or STEM labs what does that have to do with not making your landfill smell with people who live around the landfill?
I got you.
So that was my whole point. Just because if you give $2 million a year, I think the data that they published is $500,000 is what they've given so far to different things. I know the Oakland ball field, that was gave for turf there, and Middle Tennessee Christian has a scoreboard that they sponsored, but I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I care about protecting our community and making sure that our community, their voices are heard. I care about the people who live in the reserve subdivision who have significant concerns. I care about the people who live in Milton and Las Casas that they're not my residents. I don't represent them, but we're all in this together. I care about the people who live in Bradford Place or who live in Anatole or that live 4 and 5 miles around from the landfill. So the part that I went back and pulled this up. We really started this odor complaint system. And I think some people have gotten fatigued, but we at one point we were up to 1,300 odor complaints and this is the part that's interesting. Through this year, through the first 5 weeks of this year, we had already received 40 some odd odor complaints just this year.
Okay.
So, we went through and granted the numbers have decreased. But I think it's important to say that we're in a federal lawsuit with Republic since 2022. So we had to go through suing this organization to be able to try to get some of these things situated. And some of this stuff I can't, I can't really talk about right now. But initially in 2021 and 2022, the city was blamed for the odor. It was, and Mr. Classen was quoted saying this, it was the city's odors, the sewer that was causing the odor. And that's something that will be thrown out. It's the city's odor system. So we spent $150,000 of taxpayer dollars to put odor sensors around the different areas.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was not like it took rocket science, but once you started monitoring the wind flow from the landfill, and so, for example, if it's a north wind, if it was a northwest wind, well, then the people who live to the southeast of the landfill were complaining about the smell of the landfill.
Yeah, I gotcha.
That's not the city's sewer system. So we went through that. We collected all the data to do that. We went through, and there was similarly in the same D&J article, but going back, that it was stated that the gas flares at Middle Point, which burn off gas collected from landfill, were working fine. That there's no issues. As a matter of fact, I think that was stated in that thing. Well, we went through and have spent, I hate to even say how much money that we've spent with experts monitoring this, but they visited Middle Point Landfill, our experts, and they've determined that the landfill's gas extraction and collection system is not being maintained properly, so to manage gas and odors generated at Middle Point. Now, while I agree that Middle Point has made improvements in the last couple of years, albeit we've had to sue them to do that. Significant work still needs to be done.
Gotcha.
And so we go through all these different things, and we talk about what PFAS is, and I think the quote was it was a a de minimis or some, PFAS is regulated. In 2024, the EPA said, hey, PFAS is they call it a forever chemical. It has to do with plastics.
Oh, okay. It's ringing a bell now. I think I remember that. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
So it's widely used, long-lasting chemicals, components of which break down very slowly over time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So scientists have shown that exposure, especially in drinking water, with PFAS in the environment can be linked to harmful health effects. I mean, that's not me, a redneck from Tennessee saying that. I mean, that's the data. So there's two types of PFAS. There's PFOA and PFOS. Okay. And so of particular concern, those two parts of PFAS are related to drinking water. That's a big concern. So in 2024, the EPA adopted regulations with limits for PFOA and PFOS. Okay. And I'm getting into the weeds on some of this, but I think we need to share. Both of these chemicals are found in high levels in the leachate coming into the city sewer system from Middle Point. Okay. So what a lot of people don't know is the leachate, the agreement that was signed 30 years ago, the leachate comes from the Middle Point landfill. There's a pipe that takes it directly to our water treatment facility. We treat that leachate. So we know what's coming in there. Yeah. But the other part, though, is that there's high level of leachates coming into the city sewer system from Middle Point, but also in storm water runoff from Middle Point, which then gets into the groundwater, which then gets into the Stones River. Okay. And so think about this, where our water plant's located, downstream from that water plant is CUD's water intake, where the majority of the water comes from the county. Down further past that, that's where Smyrna and Laverne's water intake come from, which then goes to from Percy Priest. So it's a pretty, once you start getting into it, it's a pretty simple thing to look at. But look, we're not making this stuff up. I mean, there's a whole lot more people, and I think this is something that's important with the city council, is that we've looked to find the most important and smart people to be able to advise us. Okay. So Republic has claimed that PFAS coming in their Landfill originates from Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department, our biosolids. Okay. So biosolids, that's basically the solids that come from our sewer system go into our sewer treatment plant. That's all processed. It's put into a truck and it goes into Middle Point landfill. Okay. All right. But the issue with that is we test all these things, but it's so small, the amount of that material that goes into the landfill. It is other things that are in that landfill that cause some of these issues. So I think that, and John, as things go to the bottom of the landfill to where the liner is, they leach out. And so that's what leachate is. Gotcha. So the leachate is all the stuff that's in the landfill that decomposes and goes through, and then it comes out of the landfill. That's what we process, but we don't process all of it because we can't catch all of it, and Middle Point can't catch all of it. So I think the main question, the one that Republic doesn't want us to ask, is where does all this leachate ultimately go? Okay. And I think that's a fair question. First, when leachate breaks out of the liner cap on slopes due to inadequate collection or groundwater or storm water, it all flows into the East Fork of the Stones River. Okay. And so saying that none of that leachate gets into the Stones River is complete I gotcha. BS. I mean, that data is out there. Okay. And so then it goes into what's the drinking source for CUD in Murfreesboro. So look, I'm not trying to scare people. I think it's just important for us to be able to give what the accurate information is. So secondly, when the leachate discharged from Republic's pretreatment plant, which they don't treat for PFAS, it comes to the city sewer system. And so then we are responsible to treat that, and then that goes into the Stones River, and then which then goes into Percy Priest Lake. Gotcha. So the other thing, and this is important, I want to get this out, and then we can take questions. Oh, sure. There have been significant permit violations with TDEC.
Okay.
So TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, they are over landfills in the state of Tennessee. Now, I will say this, that TDEC will tell you that they don't regulate odor.
Okay.
So, but in March of 2023, so not too long ago, trash and leachate were found to have washed into the stormwater point at the landfill. 2022, the alternate daily cover, which is the ADC, that's where they were spraying this green stuff instead of covering with dirt.
Okay.
That was not being adequately applied to the working face, which if you don't cover the trash, it smells.
Gotcha.
So if, for example, when you have a low ceiling or low cloud cover and it rains and it doesn't get covered, it stinks.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there's a lot of people within a 3 or 4 or 5 mile vicinity of Republic or the landfill that will tell you that. So we were observing that it was not thick enough, and TDEC put a note. They stopped that and said, "Hey, you got to cover. You got to cover with dirt."
All right.
So in 2022, following a fire at the landfill, TDEC cited that the working face of the landfill was excessive in size, making it hard to cover on a daily basis. There was no evidence of soil or alternate daily cover on solid waste at the landfill working face. June of 2021, they were cited for a leachate outbreak on the eastern slope of the landfill. The winter of 2020, there were multiple citations issued by TDEC for leachate-related problems. And so you have to take into account, this is only when they come out to inspect it.
Okay.
So that's like me running a job site and I'm getting getting an inspection and I failed that inspection. Well, that means I failed it that day. That doesn't mean that I didn't fail it the other 30 days.
I gotcha.
So I can get into all the details, and maybe we'll get that with some of the questions. But I think it's important that all of us as elected officials tell the truth.
Okay.
And what's happening right now, I don't know what's changed. But in 2018, the county commission voted 19-1 to basically say no landfill.
Okay.
No landfill on the old county landfill. But now there's this huge push all of a sudden to go through and say we're restarting this process. And it's not been a transparent process. So, it's no secret. Republic hired Tucker Markham, who Tucker Markham was the campaign manager for several different commissioners, who's working for Republic, going and advocating for this landfill. I haven't met with him. He's met with 2 or 3 of our council members. But, making comments that, hey, the votes are there at the commission. We've already got the votes. So, I mean, I'd like to see who that is, because that's not how the process works. And so that's where I get upset, that I think everything should be open and transparent, that there shouldn't be things said like, hey, I've already got the votes. And think about this, having conversations, can you imagine if a developer came to me with a project inside the city and that developer said, hey, Shane, what are other areas that you think I could help with in the city? What are other things you think I could help contribute or work on? What does that have to do with that guy's development?
With the development, I got you.
So I think when you start hearing things like that, my radar starts going up. And I think that's the part, and I believe that, that's not what we were elected to do.
Yeah.
And so I think when you start going on this full-on campaign of economic value, and I mean, I heard yesterday that they're pulling up the United Way data to show that if we have to talk about trash increases in the future, that we're going to show how many people that can't afford that, So I think where I am, and there's a comment made that like our solid waste fee is going to go up to $33 a month.
Yeah,
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've got all the data that shows we've never published to say that there's a $30 fee. We've got a 10-year plan that we've looked at that basically the solid waste fee goes up $1.50 a year. So I think the year 20, let me look here, the year 2031 that we could be possibly be up to a $25 waste fee. We're at $11.50 a month right now. We're not even at cost recovery. But, I mean, there's not anything that we've had to say that we're going to $33 a month. But, I mean, here's the thing we have to think about, John. and I put it this way, and it makes complete sense. Will Jordan, the commissioner, said this when I was. It's like that we're a drug addict right now, and we have said that we're addicted to free trash.
Okay.
But our supply is coming to an end. And so now we've got this sort of hanging out there to say, hey, we've got you addicted to it, so we're going to have to extend it now so you can keep getting that free trash.
Okay.
But not only are we going to give you free trash, we're going to start throwing some other things out to you, like, hey, we're going to double your tipping fee, or we're going to do all these different things. And that's the part where, like, look, I think we've proven, and I would sit down with anyone and go over this, Daddy, to talk about a good community partner.
Okay.
That's not the way that we should be set. We should look at what is in the long-term best interest for our resident. And not always can you look at what the monetary value is.
Yeah, I got you.
I would argue with you that continually perpetuating being the dumping ground of Middle Tennessee, even if you're limiting household waste coming from Nashville, you're still bringing in hundreds of thousands of tons of trash every single day or every single year. That doesn't make sense to me. And that doesn't make sense for the next 30 years for our kids, the liability of being on our water source. I mean, you can't tell me 40 years ago that if people knew what the landfill is right now, that you would say, yeah, let's put that next to our drinking water source.
Yeah, I got you.
I would think that people would say, nah, I don't think we should do that. And so, there's this thought too, and we'll get to questions, but
Oh, you're good.
That the county landfill is this failing landfill, and that's not true either.
Okay.
So go look at the TDEC violations. There's not any that I've seen. Now, that's not to say that an old landfill doesn't have its opportunities, but I think that's why we need to put egos down. We need, as a county and a city, and I include Smyrna and Laverne, Eagleville, this is a big issue that we all need to work through.
Gotcha.
And I really believe, and I think this is important I'd say this to any commissioner who's listening, there's no reason that we have so many smart and thoughtful elected officials that we can't work through and figure out how to do this.
Gotcha.
Now, to me, I mean, I've been mayor since 2014, and I've always said I thought it was a non-negotiable to we have certain things that we have values on, right?
Yep.
And no one's going to change your mind on those values.
Yeah.
To me, this is one of those non-negotiables. And I've run 2 campaigns basically saying that this is one of my non-negotiables. And
Gotcha.
I'm sitting here on my 3rd term, so I'm not telling you anything that I've not publicly said.
Yeah.
So, I'm told that I let my hatred for Republic blind me. First of all, I'll tell you, I don't hate anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been at these town halls and you see where people get mad at you, and you're like, I mean, I understand that people are concerned about whatever they're concerned about, but I think there are non-negotiables that we can say you can't tell me that there's enough money that would alleviate the things that this community has dealt with the last 30 years. And so that's just where I sort of stand on it. And I'm sorry, I could go through the 7 or 8 pages of stuff that I've got here, but I think the part that I would tell the community, you don't know what you don't know.
True.
And I've and our council have become educated over these last 4 or 5 years of some of the things that we know. And going around telling everyone that you're this great community partner, and I mean that respectfully to them. I mean, it's a big company, right? It's literally like David and Goliath. You've got a billion dollar company, and you got the small, little city here.
I got you. Yeah.
That that's not always the case, man. And I think the first part of any problem is admitting you got a problem. And so that's the part where I feel like that we've been gaslighted as a city that, hey, it's your sewer, it's your solid waste that you're bringing over. And everything that we've gone through in great expense to the taxpayer, it's just not true.
I got you.
So anyway.
No, I appreciate you going into all that. Thank you very much.
And I like having these conversations because it's almost like you and I just sitting here, and my blood pressure starts getting up.
You're fine.
And I don't get upset very often about much, but I would say this is something we're all extremely passionate about.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, I will say you handle it very well. So you talk about your blood pressure going up.
Yeah.
You can't tell. So,
Yeah.
And for those watching and tuning in, he's talking about the town hall meetings. For one, that's a great way to learn about what's going around in the community, what's going on. You guys touch on a lot of stuff. But, I always like to joke Mayor McFarland has a very thick skin, and he handles everything with grace. And so, like, sometimes, let's be honest, people like to drill you, but you handle everything so well, and so do all the council members up there. At least that we've seen. Jen and I have been to a couple of them now. And,
I was talking with someone, and you're talking about and I try to lead this way not only with my family too. I mean, I think the most important thing that you can have as a elected official is you have to be humble.
Yeah,
and you're in realizing that you go to these town hall meetings and someone's talking to you about their road, and that's the most important thing they're talking to you about at that time.
Yep.
So we can talk about a landfill, but this little old lady wants to talk about a pothole in front of her house.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's important is to, major on the major and minor on the minors, but also understand that, hey, it's a lot bigger than me, and it's a lot bigger than any elected official. This is a big deal for our community.
Yeah. I like this one. Guy just tuned in here. He's been having fun in the comments, but he obviously a new one here. He says, "Is this Shane McFarland?" But he's complimenting you. He says he seems genuinely interested in the topic, in the situation, what's going on. So.
Oh yeah, Mark. Right? Yeah, Mark. Right.
You see that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was having. Hey, Mark. We saw he's having fun in the comments there. Earlier,
Yeah.
So, but well, cool. Well, you want to?
Yeah, let's
There's
do
a
it.
lot of comments on here so far, so we can dive in if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Well, I know there's. I did have some people that wrote in earlier, so I wrote these down. And then, like for example, this one. It seems like looking from the outside in, both the city and Republic are interested in doing, something better with the landfill. Is there a possibility of working together on it?
With the city and Republic, you never say never.
Okay.
Right. But so, and I mean that, like, I don't have any personal angst against Republic. I do have personal angst that, again, I think the first part of any problem is admitting you got a problem.
I got you.
And so I understand some of that, but no, I mean, I don't. The part that I have trouble with is you are judged by your past performance and your past record, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what our integrity and sort of what our character has been, by not like what we do when everybody's watching. It's what we do when people aren't watching.
Yep.
And so the part that I'm really struggling with, just being honest, is if you've got a track record over a 30-year period that is not good. I mean, let's be clear on that.
Gotcha.
You may can say, hey, I've been great for 2 years, but that's like the guy who's cheating on his wife and he's been clean for 2 years, but before that, it's not been good.
Yeah.
Then I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And I struggle to say, why would you want to partner with someone who has shown that they haven't handled things the right way? And that's the part. So partnering with Republic, that would be something that I think I speak for the council as well. We would have to get over that. And here's the issue. Like, I've heard this thing about, a citizen board and holding them, different groups accountable. But John, that's what people want. These organizations or large companies, that's what they want, because these citizen boards, when it comes down to it, they don't have the ability to defend themselves.
Okay.
So I want to use this example. The Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board, who turned down the expansion at Middle Point, Republic sued the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board.
Okay.
This is a appointed body, has no budget, no money. So the city stepped in to intervene, legal term, to represent them.
Gotcha.
Because they didn't have the money to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the issue when you deal with these large corporations, that you set up this citizen board that you're going to give them all the teeth, but they don't have the resources to defend themselves. So if that citizen board said, for example, like the Central Tennessee Solid Waste Board, and said, we don't believe an expansion is correct, we vote no, that's not consistent with our solid waste plan, well, they got sued. And so if someone didn't step in, they can't defend themselves. So that I think that's the part that I'm struggling with. We're judged by our past performance. You can say a lot of things about me, and I've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I'm a better mayor now than I was in 2014, but I'm not going to lie to you. And so, and sure, I'm passionate about the landfill, but I'm going to back it up with the data that I've got that I mean, doesn't just come from me going through YouTube University or Googling something.
Yeah, I got you.
So I think it's important for us as elected officials to surround ourselves and get accurate information.
I got you. We got one here. I'm summarizing a long one here. Basically boiled down to, so as the city, what are the next real steps from here?
I think the next real steps, the county's already started that process. The county commission started with the transfer station.
Yes, okay.
They've got that up and running. I think that's going to be open in April, either March, April, May. And I think the county commission made a really good decision doing that.
Okay.
I wish that we could have, I'll tell you the same thing I've told Mayor Carr. I wish that we could have partnered together on theirs and ours, but we're getting ready to build one on the south side of Murfreesboro.
Yep.
And so these are really high-tech places. I mean, it's a negative pressure warehouse where trash is brought in, the smell can't get out. Then ultimately, and this is the negative part, we're 4 years when Middle Point closes, and that is the thing to understand. Regardless of whether we're talking about an expansion on the county landfill, Middle Point landfill is going to close.
Okay.
I mean, so we really have to go through talking about what does that look like for the community for the next 50 years.
Yep.
Now the proposal now is like, well, we're not really going to close. We're going to expand over to the county. So for another 50 years. So I think the next step, we've got our transfer station. We have some really interesting solid waste to energy, waste to energy, but that takes money.
Yeah.
And so I think we're working through those two phases, and ultimately, this is what I think needs to happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things that Nashville provides. Lots of cool taxpayer dollars for the state.
Yeah.
Lots of cool restaurants, tourism.
Yeah.
But their growth shouldn't be to a detriment to our community. All their commercial waste coming here. See all those atomic trucks. So I think what's going to have to happen is each county is going to have to come up with their own solid waste plan.
Okay.
And Rutherford County has a solid waste solution for Rutherford County. I have an idea in regards to a solid waste authority that I think would make complete sense. Trash needs to be like a utility like everybody else. There's no incentive to recycle when right now you just it all gets thrown away.
Yeah.
So recycling's a big part of that. Councilman Averwater has been a big deal talking about that. Councilman Wright has. So I think there's a lot of plans in place that we need the county and the city, and I say cities, all to come together and figure out what that next step is. But being the dumping ground for Davidson County doesn't need to be one of them.
I got you. Because wasn't the stat something like 70%?
It's over 70%.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last number I saw, 70% is a fair number to say, but I think at one point it was 73, 74%.
Wow.
Not many people know that there's a what's called an AWR that is out. It's an aluminum waste reaction that's occurring out at the landfill.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So that's very well documented. TDEC has been exploring that. Republic's been exploring that. So there's some significant stuff that's going on at that landfill out there.
All right. Dang. Okay. Hey, I won't look into that one. I'm just curious what that is.
I can. Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
We got one here. It says, in regards to the Republic plan, the one they proposed worth over $1 billion. Do you have a guess on how much the plan from the city would cost, and where would that money come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think the plan with the Republic, I think, is $1 billion. I don't think it's $1 billion to the county. I think it's $1 billion economic project.
Okay.
So I think the county, and I've read through their proposal. I have smarter people than me that are evaluating that proposal.
I gotcha.
But the thing I would echo and say this, I mean, if it's $2 billion, is that enough for the next 50 years for our community to be who has to live around that? And I ask this, to say a commissioner who lives in Laverne, and I ask this honestly, what if that landfill were in Laverne? Would you be for it?
I got you. Yeah.
So just because it's in Commissioner Piercy and Commissioner Harris's and Commissioner P's, I think Wayne Irvin, I think it's in his, that Murfreesboro district that all have people that are around that landfill. I mean, that landfill or that segment of our community has suffered for 30 years now. So you're basically telling them, hey, it's already there, and you're just going to have to suck it up for another 50 years. Okay. So, I mean, what if it were in Rockville? I mean, what if it were in other areas of our communities? I think people would probably look at it a little differently. But I think there are the overall cost that, I think Mayor Carr's transfer station has shown that it's going to be net revenue neutral for this year. So I think there could be an opportunity for lots of different things to happen.
Okay. All right. And then when will Waste Away be operating, by the way?
Well, the Waste Away project, we're still in talks with them.
Okay. All right.
But it really comes to what are called ITC tax credits, which were under the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay.
And we were really worried about proceeding with a project that we didn't know if that was going to be there. I mean, so the project that Republic's doing with the gas extraction company, that it's sort of the same thing that we're wanting to do in a smaller fashion. We can process about 140,000 tons a year, but we've gotten really in the weeds with that with the company Hitachi. Hitachi, I'm sure the electronics company and does a little bit of everything. Hitachi Housing is a company that we've had multiple discussions with of renewable natural gas. So there's a lot of things that are still sort of percolating behind the scenes. But here's the issue. If we really need to come to a finality with a county to say this is the direction that we all need to move forward, a combination of transfer stations, maybe some renewable natural gas, but here's the tonnage inside the county that we have to take care of. Okay. Right? It's hard to do that when you have this looming threat over you of expansion all the time.
I got you. I see one here some people liked and commented on as well. So just what's wrong with making the corporation bear the brunt of the proper upkeep on the landfill, and why does it always fall back on the city or the county?
It's a great question. I would ask that question right now.
Okay.
I mean, we had to get to a federal lawsuit to get some of the things to improve out there. Yeah. And that's the part that I'm really worried about. Okay. And think about this 30 years from now. Like, look, I'm not going to be here 20 years from now in this position. Mike Classen's not going to be here 20 years from now. So Mike Classen was not here. I think he got here 6 or 7 years ago or 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. He was not here the last 15 years when he admittedly said, we've probably not done the best that we can do out there.
I got you.
So my thing is like it's easy to talk about what you're going to do right now, but you really have to look at, hey, what happens when, BFI is the one who owns the landfill. Yep. Right? Republic is the parent company. Yep. But, when maybe the landfill may not be doing as well financially as it could be, what happens when cost-cutting measures go in place to be more profitable at the landfill, and that's to the detriment of our community? Yeah, are we going to have other elected officials inside the city and the county who say we're going to sue them again? Okay. So, that's the part where I find it maybe a little ironic to say, hey, we've done this when, like I said, we've been in a federal lawsuit with them since 2022.
All right. Dang. My gosh, the comments are coming in so fast and people commenting on it. It keeps jumping around. So I'm trying to.
Well, and I think Susan Allen has a good point.
I'm looking at hers right now.
She said a long-term solution is going to be expensive, and we've got to understand that reality. I don't think that a long-term solution is going to be unachievable, but here's what you have to think about. If you live in a townhome in the city of Murfreesboro, you're paying for trash service.
Yeah.
The city of Murfreesboro doesn't pay for trash service in a townhome.
I gotcha.
If you have a commercial business inside the city of Murfreesboro, so all of these businesses that you see around Murfreesboro, we don't provide trash service. You're already paying for it.
Gotcha.
So if you go to a townhome in Smyrna or a townhome in Laverne, the majority of those all have private haulers who pick up their trash. So the interesting question that I think really goes to it, we're really talking about, unincorporated people who live in the unincorporated area or a subdivision that doesn't provide trash service. And I mean, that's really what we're talking about.
Gotcha.
But the people in Murfreesboro, we pick up 60,000 cans a week. That's what the city of Murfreesboro picks up.
A lot of cans.
But there's more than that we don't pick up their trash. So those people are already paying for trash service.
Okay.
So I think that's the important part is when we look to say that trash solution is going to be expensive moving forward, yes, it's going to be expensive for some of the people who've never paid for trash service. But the city of Murfreesboro, and I mean, your tax budget, I think we're up to $8 million a year is what we pay to pick trash up right now. So you're paying for it already.
Yeah, I gotcha. I like this one. Is this oversimplified, but would a simple solution just be to open a new landfill in a different part of town?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would. I guess I would. I don't know that anyone would want a landfill next to them.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that if the county's going to have the discussion, and that was one of the things that Mayor Carr and I talked about, is setting up a study process, a study committee with commissioners, council members, with people who are in the community in Smyrna and Laverne.
Gotcha.
I think it makes sense to, if the process is going to be looked at to possibly, sell the old county landfill, wouldn't it make sense to look to see how Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, Eagleville, and Rutherford County could partner just to do our stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is common sense, that you could say, well, if we can achieve what we need to achieve as a community to handle our community, well, let Davidson County figure their own trash out. And here's the catch-22 with that, John.
Yeah.
As long as that we as a community say that we're going to allow that landfill to continue to grow and grow and grow, well, Davidson County has no initiative or incentive to be able to figure out their own solid waste solution.
Gotcha.
So I think it's sort of like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? But I think it takes strong initiative for, our city leaders and county leaders to say, okay, enough's enough. Okay. Not on our watch.
Yeah. Okay. So is that kind of what you said, the landfill was going to close in 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Mr. Classen said on your deal.
Yeah, I think it was a study they had done or something.
Yeah.
It said 4 years left.
Yeah.
So at that point, what with the city, is that going to kind of force the county together and say, okay, let's do this? Or
I would hope that we would do that now. I mean, that was the whole point of Mayor Carr and I getting together, and I've tried to explain that to several different commissioners. That was not to bypass the commission.
Yeah.
That was really just to say, people elect us to lead, right?
Right.
And people elect us to say, hey, we're going to put egos and those things aside unless I don't care who gets the credit. I mean, I really don't.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for us to come together as cities, towns, and the county, and all of us to work together.
Here's one. I remember this one from the last one. It said, what happened with the lawsuit with the boys swimming in Walter Hill? Was that from the landfill?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I remember what happened. That was not, the city wasn't sued on that side. I don't know the answer. Okay. I listened to the person who asked Mr. Classen if he'd go swim out there. So
that's right. Yeah.
I would say this.
Yeah.
I have swam out there when I was training for triathlons. My brother and I went and swam the river.
Yeah.
I sure as heck wouldn't do it right now.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. If someone said, hey, I'm going to, one of my boys' buddies said, hey, we're going to go out to Walter Hill Dam, and we're going to go swim out there, I would say that's probably not a good idea.
Gotcha. I'm sorry, side comment. Triathlons?
I did,
when'd you do those? Oh my gosh.
Too old now, man.
What do you know? You're 35 years old.
I'm 50.
Your birthday was not too long ago, wasn't it?
August.
August. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I'm
Yeah.
a little ahead. Okay, gotcha. Anyways, side comment there. We're just seeing a lot of people saying no expansion. They're with you, Mayor McFarland.
So he says, I heard him speak about the issue over 4 years ago and said we had to sue the company, which has been done, and still nothing to expect more allowed. Yeah, so, I mean, Jackie, I mean, I that lawsuit's going on now. I mean, I've been told publicly that some of the Republic officials have said that we're days away from settling. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, maybe that's the case.
There you go.
We'll see.
Cool. Update coming soon, folks. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Can't say that now.
And Julia had the question about would a solution be to open up a new landfill in town, and I'm not sure that another, the county has the county landfill. I'm not even sure that's a great option.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. I mean, I think most of the experts that you talk with will tell you that there's significant concerns about filling on top of an existing online landfill. But I think that's, in my opinion, I think that is a decision that needs to be done independently. Right? I mean, it needs to be an independent group. If that's going to be the direction,
I got you.
It sure as hell doesn't need to be the group that's going to profit from it that makes the decision to say, oh, yeah, look, everything's fine. It's going to work fine.
Yeah.
That needs to be someone, third party, that looks and says, here are the concerns. We've had that discussion, but I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah. That's actually one of the questions I had from earlier. With the landfill being 30 plus years old, do you have any concerns about reopening it?
I think there's significant concerns about reopening it. Yeah. I mean, I think in the press conference we talked about is whether that would be reopening, reclaiming, or going on top. But I think you throw all the options out there to say, look, we want to study all of them. But I mean, I'm not sure that it's a good idea to dig up what's already there. But again, that's any elected official who says that they know the answers to that, you should run. Because we are not solid waste experts. And I think on top of that, any elected official that is only listening to one side should be the same thing. And I say that with me included. I mean, I've tried to keep an open mind through all this. I mean, even though, again, we're in a lawsuit with Republic, so there are things I've seen that I can't unsee. But I think it's important that we need unbiased information that's given to us that from people who this is what they do for a living, but they don't need to be affiliated with a group that's going to benefit from the decision that's being made.
Yeah, no, I get you totally. So, here's one, like when the landfill closes, what will happen to all the trash? Will it be relocated, just buried, covered? What will happen then?
Well, I mean, I think when the landfill closes, and I think so, it's called going into post closure. So the landfill is covered and capped, which means it's covered up, then it's capped, which is there's a process to go through to cap the landfill. And then it goes into post-closure, and that's where TDEC, there's a post-closure bond. I want to say that post-closure bond is in the $80 million range that Republic or BFI have with the state of Tennessee, and that ensures that on a yearly basis that they're going to be maintaining all of that.
Okay. Yeah, there's something about, I think we talked about last time about parks and things, but they can't plant trees, but they can put grass and try and put things. So,
yeah.
Do you see that happening over there?
I mean, I heard that comment.
Okay.
I mean, we have a park. We have a park we have two parks next to the Republic right now. We have Walter Hill and we have Seagull Soccer Complex.
Right,
so I think before we talk about, adding additional parks, we should try to make sure that the landfill that is there now doesn't stink out the parks that are already there. So I think that's the thing. Hey, there's a comment on here that says, Mr. Mayor, is your real estate government still building city homes out there?
Yep, I'm looking at it.
I don't know Joseph, you're welcome to ask that question again, but real estate government still building city homes out there, that I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, it's no secret. I've been in the real estate business for 25 years. Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
That's how I first met you.
Yeah.
At your own company.
That's right.
Nice home, by the way. Thank you. Way back when. But,
Yeah, there's a lot of comments here. Stinks horribly bad when it rains too.
Yep.
I mean, it was last Saturday, or no, it was last Friday. I had to make a trip to Knoxville to had a sick one, and so I opened when I was getting ready to take off, and it was a north wind, and sure enough, smell the landfill.
There you go.
So, and I think that's important that we note that doesn't happen everywhere around the country.
Yeah, I got you.
So there are lots of instances around the country, and I'm sure Republic may be have some landfills that they don't get complaints on, but that's not here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the part where, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think that Republic is playing catch up for years of mismanagement at that landfill.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, if a group is telling you, hey, look what they've done over the last 7 years, they've put in $24 million worth of gas extraction. Well, that probably should have been done already.
I gotcha.
And so let's don't go through and say, hey, look what we've done the last 2 years when all that crap should have been done 10 years ago.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And so I think that's the part where, and this is the part I would say this. I think if Republic or BFI had truly been good community partners, and we haven't lived through the hell that we've all lived through the last 10 years, and they came through and, like, for example, an NHC, great community partners.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee Electric. I mean, great community partners. So when we were having the discussion of selling Murfreesboro Electric Department, and we're having it with someone whose track record is really good, that makes those discussions easier. So, when somebody was asking me earlier, would you partner with the Republic? I mean, I probably would say if we were under different circumstances.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Or even if this discussion were occurring 10 years from now, and you look and that group had done what they said they were going to do, I think maybe it's a different discussion. But look, we only have the past track record that we have to go by.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm getting hung up on. And that's when I watch these governmental meetings and I'm watching things like, look what they've done. I'm like, well, okay, but let's look at everything before that.
Yeah.
And what happens that we don't know it's going to revert back. I think that seems to me like it's common sense, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong with that.
No, maybe not. Who knows? No. Is it true that they've dumped radioactive waste in there in the past?
Man, I don't know. I had a state delegation member, former state delegation member, that told me that was something that they had looked at a while back. But I remember there being lots of articles about that a while back. So I would hate to say yes or no. So so Elena has when it closes, what will happen to the land? Will the mountain of trash be relocated? I mean, I think you find across the country that landfills that are managed correctly, when they are post-closure, it looks like just a big green hillside out there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's, I think that's what ends up happening.
All right. It said, how often is well monitoring done by a third party? Do you know?
Say that one more time.
How often, like the frequency of well samples done by a third party?
Well, I don't want to get into what we've been doing.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of that is under discovery in the lawsuit.
Okay. All right.
But I will say TDEC monitors, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation monitors landfills through Tennessee. But I will tell you, we were having such significant issues with our complaints that at one point, one of the deputy commissioners at TDEC actually brought in another. Instead of using the Middle Tennessee inspection group, they brought in the East Tennessee inspection group to monitor, who typically doesn't monitor that. And there were a lot of different results that came out of those inspections.
Okay. All right. I'm seeing some road questions. We're going, if y'all don't mind, landfill only for this one. Okay. We'll get back to those. Yeah. But
I say this too. So there's one in here: email your respective commissioner and say no. Several commissioners are not representing the constituents. If you put a vote to all citizens of Rutherford County, it would be a resounding no. I believe that. I think if you ask the majority of people in the Reedyville, Kittrell, Las Casas, Milton, South Murphy, I mean, I think if about half of our county. You know, the argument now is like, well, the north of the county, it's out of sight, out of mind.
I got you.
I don't think that's smart making that decision, but I think we have good county commissioners, and they're trying to do the best with the information that they have. So, like, I don't want to get personal with any county commissioners. I mean, I think you know, we have good people. I think some I vehemently disagree with.
I got you.
But it doesn't mean that I don't like them.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's what is really important with elected officials, that we're not always going to agree on the same things. But the items that we don't agree on, we agree that we don't agree.
Yeah.
And we move on to work on the next things.
I got you.
But what I don't want to see is this one issue on the landfill is hindering other discussions on road, how we partner on road infrastructure, how we partner on school infrastructure, how we partner on all these different things, because we just don't agree on this one issue.
Yeah,
So,
I got you. All right. Oh, I just had a bunch more come in.
But I will tell you this: we did at our council meeting, yesterday, we did initiate the process of actually annexing the landfill.
Okay.
So that soon, I would say, as it goes through the planning commission process, and of course it has to go through the council process. I mean, I think there's a likelihood that the landfill would be in the city of Murfreesboro. That gives us the ability to do several different things, but ultimately it also allows us to we'll collect property taxes off of the landfill.
Okay. All right. I think we talked about this in the other one, but I can't remember the answer. It says, do you know about how long it takes the landfill to settle? So, like, once it closes, like, how far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that question.
Yeah, I think Mike touched on that last time, but I can't remember the answer to it. All right.
Well, as the process of cleaning up the water from the waste, that's something we're extremely we're extremely, I don't want to say worried, but we are extremely cognizant to make sure that ultimately the residents of Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, anyone that's downstream of this landfill, that they're protected.
All right.
And I'm not saying that to try to scare anyone.
Oh yeah, no, I get you.
But I mean, I think it makes sense that if you test leachate that is coming from that landfill, and that landfill has issues with the leachate, then I think it's common sense that gets into your water sources and goes downstream, and that affects livestock, that affects agriculture, that affects farmers. It affects the intake where you're bringing the water in. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Speaking of that one, we had one. Is the leachate plant at full capacity, or how close is it?
No, I mean, we're not at full capacity. I do think that's a discussion. I think I forget what it was. I think it was 200,000 gallons a day or something like that we're treating that come from the landfill.
Okay.
I mean, don't quote me on that number.
Yep.
Mr.
No,
Gore gave us that number yesterday, but
Okay.
it's one of the larger sewer users that we have as a community that we treat the water for.
Okay.
I mean, that's the thing, John. I think if you go back, I would like to think that the elected officials who were in office back in the mid 90s, including those who at the city of Murfreesboro, that knowing the data that we have now, we would have made a different choice.
Okay. Here you go. One just came in. What percentage of the landfill waste cost is from the city budget?
Oh gosh, we are almost a $300 million budget, and our solid waste pickup is about $8 or so million a year.
Okay.
And so if you look at the gate rate that you have and the tipping fee number that if we had to take our trash somewhere else, I mean, it's a couple $1 million.
Okay.
But a couple $1 million is a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But in the scheme of a $300 million budget, it's not going to be something that is going to make or break the city.
Yeah, I got you.
So,
all right.
John Jones has texted me and said, I heard you say BS on live stream. At least I'm not using abusive language.
Oh God.
You gotta love Jughead.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
Oh, too funny. Hello. Hey, John, if you're watching out
Yeah.
there. Oh, I love that guy.
I know I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, no, he's a trip.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
No, I shouldn't have said BS, but
Hey, that's all right. That's what we're I'm looking
yeah.
for here. We're
This
unfiltered.
this is what I would say. Maybe this is a good closing point.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone inside the city of Murfreesboro is. I think it's like you're in the battle and you're deep in it right now.
Yeah.
And there are things that I have seen and our council has seen that are extremely concerning because we're relying on people that are advising us.
Yeah.
But I think the part that I'm concerned about is what's next.
I gotcha.
And, maybe this is not what has been intended, but a lot of the conversations that are occurring right now,
Yeah.
I think it's always better for those to be done in the sunlight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotcha.
I think it's better for those to be done with public input. And it concerns me when you start hearing, and hopefully it's rumor, right?
Yeah.
I hope it's rumor that, hey, minds are already made up.
Yeah. No, I
Votes
gotcha.
the votes are already cast. But that concerns me that, and I'll tell all new commission or council members when they come into the city of Murfreesboro, I'm like, don't ever tell anyone that you're going to vote for something until you go through a public hearing process.
Yeah.
Because sure as the world, I tell John, hey, yeah, I think I'll support that.
Yeah.
Sure as the world, some little old lady comes up at a public hearing and she makes a comment that you've never thought about.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, but yet you've already told this person you're going to vote for it.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense that everything is done openly and transparent.
Gotcha.
And I trust all of our elected officials that that's what we're going to do. And so I hope that this process that's going through, all the discussions that you're hearing, I trust that there's a better way to handle that.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna work on making sure that everyone is educated on the information that we've worked through. But at the end of the day, I think we all want to make the best decision for
absolutely.
for Rutherford County and for our municipalities.
Nice. Well, first off, thank you for your time. I know we've gone over a long time here for you, but if people want more information about this or want to reach out, contact you, or where can they find it? What's out there for people?
Yeah. So this is what I would say. Inside the city of Murfreesboro, you clearly know how to get, and I'm going to talk about Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how to get in touch with Shane McFarland, Bill Shacklett, Madeline Scales-Harris, Austin Maxwell, Jamie Averwater, Sean Wright, Kurt Wade. There are districts and commissioners that are inside the city of Murfreesboro that I always think it's good to stay in contact with your elected representatives. But this is a big issue, and I think that we all of our elected officials, we want to hear from you and hear where you stand on everything. And I think that's important that you exercise your we have a democracy, right? We have a democratic government, but once you're elected, it's a representative government.
Gotcha.
Because you pick your leaders to represent you.
Yeah.
We don't throw out polls to say there's push polls going out in areas of our community now asking whether you'll support or won't support. A push poll is where you're pushing the answer the direction that you want it to go.
Yep.
So those are happening now, and I think it's important that we have that conversation with all of our elected officials. And I know that's something I'm going to do. I mean, I've continually talked to county commissioners, to talk to the county mayor. I talked to our state delegation. We've got a great state delegation. Brian Terry, Robert Stevens, Tim Rudd, Don White, Mike Sparks, Shane Reeves. I don't think I'm missing Charlie Baum. We've got a great group, and I know they're committed that they want what's good for our community as well.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any arguing that, or at least in my experience of meeting you all and talking and with you all and everything. Everybody wants the best everything. So, but again, I know we've gone long here, and thank you for staying.
No, man, I enjoyed it. I'm going to do I'm not available to do it next week, but probably the following week on a Monday or Wednesday, I'm going to do one of my Facebook Live things.
Okay,
I really enjoy. You've commented on those
Yeah,
before.
sure
I
have.
really enjoy getting to hear from everyone.
Nice. And that's on your. Is that that's your personal?
No,
page?
That's a great thing. Ashley told me this morning. We were walking. It's Mayor McFarland
That's what
on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you haven't, go like that. It will update you on all things that are happening inside our city.
There you go. And you do those at 8 p.m. Normally.
8 p.m.
There you go.
Yeah, right before bedtime.
That's right. Get us all worked up over something.
That's right, brother.
There you go. Okay.
John, I appreciate you,
Hey,
man.
it's not a problem. Not a problem. And for everybody watching, we appreciate you tuning in as always. I'm sure we'll do another one of these here soon. So again, thank you for coming in.
All right,
everybody
man.
watching. See you all in the next one.
Thanks, Steve.